From the Flint Hills Writing Project, this is The Suggestion Box, where teachers get ideas. I'm your host, Andrea Marshbank. Today, we are introducing this, The Suggestion Box. This podcast right now that is entering via your ear holes. We're going to ask and answer questions like, what is the suggestion box? Why is the suggestion box? And if you get through all that and you decide you still care, where is the suggestion box going? And we're going to go in order because that's who I am as a person. We've got to go in order. So we're starting off with the what. What is the suggestion box? The suggestion box is a collaboration between you and me and every other teacher that you can possibly think of. And by I mean everybody behind this podcast, so I should be saying we are here to support you in the form of really, really good suggestions from teachers all around the nation. We're going to talk about amazing units and projects, ideas, strategies, and so many more things that are bursting from classrooms all over the place and how they could maybe sort of kind of apply to your own classrooms. All teachers are invited, all educators. This is not an exclusive club. Here at the Suggestion Box, we are a family. The people who make the Suggestion Box and the people who listen to it, you. The Suggestion Box is like a warm mug you cradle in your hands, or like when your dog takes a nap on your feet and you're like, I can't move. This is my life now. There's a dog on my feet. And your boss calls you and like, why haven't you showed up for work in 6 days? You're like, the dog is just on my feet, right? I want that to be the suggestion box. I want it to be comfort and ideas and inspiration in a totally non-judgmental way, in a way that doesn't cause pressure, that's not somebody evaluating you, but in a way where you just get to learn. Because as teachers, we love learning, or at least I hope we do. All the teachers that I've talked to have. If you don't love learning, we're gonna have to figure that one out. Please make sure to send me an email at thesuggestionboxpodcast@gmail.com and we'll figure that one out. But the suggestion box is for teachers, by teachers, and it should feel like home. Each episode, we're going to dive into something really, really cool happening somewhere in a classroom, school, or community. And it's all going to be about education all the time. Please remember, this is for the teachers. I am a teacher. Everybody on here has either been in a classroom or is going to be in a classroom or is currently in a classroom. And we're going to talk about wildly different topics, from the down and dirty of how to teach grammar effectively. And my English teachers out there, you know that's a struggle, to using mindfulness in high needs classrooms. And for those of you in high needs classrooms, it's also a struggle. And then we're also going to talk about things like, how can the zombie apocalypse be something that's really helpful for students to learn biology? We are going to cover the gamut, and it's going to be awesome every single step of the way. Most episodes are going to have a guest speaker, not just me, who is some form of an educator. Like I said, that they've had some experience in the classroom, be that at a collegiate level, be that at high school, a middle school, and elementary school. This is for K all the way through 16. We're not stopping at 12. This could also be applicable to college professors and associate professors and GTAs and all of those other fun people out there. Because we value teachers. We value teachers. The featured educator, whoever that's going to be, will share their idea, which is their suggestion for the world, and you can take from each episode what you need and leave the rest. You know what is best for your classroom. You are a capable and probably exceptional professional, and here at the Suggestion Box, we believe that you are the expert in what you are doing. Okay, we're not here to force things on you, we're just here to provide ideas. And if you don't like the idea, that's totally fine. That creates great conversation and discussion in a positive and collaborative space. We trust you. You are a teacher who is good at their job, and we're just here to provide the suggestions. This is a podcast that's going to feature all types of teachers. Like I said a little bit earlier, learning about teaching and learning about different ways we can teach has very little to do with age or content area. Now, I know some of you just tuned out. You heard that and you were like, yep, this girl, and you just like flipped off the podcast, you threw your iPhone across the room, now you gotta explain to your spouse why the screen's cracked, and you're like, this person on this podcast told me that it's the same thing to teach kindergarten as it is to teach AP English in high school. And I'm not saying that. There is nuance. There is nuance everywhere. But there is so much we can learn from everyone around us. When I was in college studying to be a teacher, there was this big lecture hall class, as you know, some classes are going to be in college. And this one was for multicultural education. So it was one of the few classes where we had both elementary and secondary, right? So we had the K through 6 and the 7 through 12 pre-teachers in the same room. And as is, you know, like you sit next to who you know, and you kind of create cliques naturally, right? Tribes, as it were. So it kind of was like one side of the room was all secondary and one side was all elementary. And I remember every single time there became a discrepancy in how we should handle a situation based on the age group that the students were, this class went to war. One day, the professor, you know, as professors will do, asked us a question, was like, what do you think we should do to motivate students based on all of their varying backgrounds and, you know, different SES levels and, you know, variety of factors that, you know, all lead to them being in your classroom. How do you motivate them? And one of the elementary school teachers raised their hand and they were like, well, what you can do is you can take a jar, and every time somebody in the class does a good thing, you can motivate that community with positive peer pressure by putting a marble in the jar. And then once the jar is full of marbles, right, pick the appropriate size jar for how much pizza you want to buy and how often, but then you throw a pizza party. And it's like a huge classroom celebration. It's just a really positive moment. And, whoa, the secondary side was not having it. And folks, I teach secondary. I was on that side, but I was just kind of shrinking down in my seat. I was not a proactive leader like I should have been, because it was brutal. They were like, our kids have had enough pizza. They don't want pizza. They can drive. They can get their own pizza. This economy of pizza that you are creating is just not effective for our secondary kids. And looking back on that experience, I wish I would have had the guts to stand up and say, but there's still a lot to learn from that lesson. There's so much we're talking about, you know, external, and maybe as kids get older, we have to breach their internal motivation. You know, maybe there's a whole discussion here of even just like exciting foods. Like maybe we haven't stopped to consider, you know, the simplest of things that excite us when we're, you know, in the second grade versus the work we have to do to excite kids when they're older. And, you know, maybe a pizza party would excite high schoolers. Have we tried? Have we given it our best shot? And man, we just missed out on that experience, and we missed out on it a bunch of times. So one of the many goals of the suggestion box, besides being an awesome place where you can feel comfortable like home, where you can get suggestions and ideas, is to break down some of those walls. We can learn from anyone, and we know that. I teach English at a high school level, but some of the best classroom management strategies I've ever learned came from the biology teacher who teaches a couple hallways over, right? Some of my best note-taking strategies came from a math teacher. You know, me teaching English does not restrict me from learning from other teachers. Have you ever heard of the pineapple chart, that phenomenon that some schools are getting into? The suggestion box is kind of like a podcasty pineapple chart. We, as teachers, we understand the value of learning, and we understand that we can learn from anyone. And so I want you to access that in the suggestion box. So that's kind of my spiel on the what is the suggestion box. And I hope I didn't get like super overexcited for you, but you have to realize I have been spending time on this. This podcast, you as listeners, all of this experience, this is not just because there's been a lot of people, you know, it takes a village, but it is my baby. It is our baby. This is all for you. We want it to be great. So tell us what you need to make it even greater. So let's address, you know, we kind of started there for a minute. Let's address like the why is the suggestion box, okay? Why did I sit down and advocate to the people of the Flint Hills Writing Project? Why did I email a graphic designer that I knew in college? Why did I reach out to so many people to get them on to this wonderful show? This started as my passion project. I've always wanted to start a podcast. I'm a big fan of podcasts. If you're a teacher listening to this, which I hope you are, and if you're not, you should be a teacher. You're missing out. But some podcasts that I would recommend to you right off the bat are No Wrong Answers and Teach Me Teacher, very good teacher podcast. Some other ones to consider that aren't teacher related are Reply All, This American Life. I really liked Homecoming, but sometimes I get mixed reviews on that one. So just a heads up, the podcasts are just a great way to consume. So for months, I've been banging down doors, looking for funding, booking interviews. Like I said, my graphic designer has been an incredibly integral part to this whole thing. Shout out to Kristen McGriff. If you need any graphic design things, please look her up. And now we're here. After all that, we're here. It's episode 0. Episode 1. Not episode 0. Episode 1. And I'm so excited. So I want to tell you a little bit about that process, about why I felt so inclined to create what this is, like where this all came from. So I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into me, because I know that sometimes in things that feel a little bit professional development-y, and I hesitate to call that this because there's a lot of associations with PD that I don't want you to have. Like when you listen to the suggestion box, this is not work. This should be fun. This should be entertaining, and it should be a very casual kind of learning. But I want to tell you about me so that you can feel like you can trust me, right? I'm not selling you a program. I'm not asking you to change your entire curriculum. All I want you to do is listen. So I finished my second year. So I'm going into my 3rd year teaching high school English in Kansas. For those of you not from Kansas, I know you're going to ask it, so I just want to let you know. I haven't seen any tornadoes. My dogs are not named Toto. In fact, they're Ozzy and Pokey, if you're curious. But yes, I have had to stop on the way to work to let wild turkeys cross the highway. Oh, Kansas. I had a great first year of teaching. You don't usually hear that. We all know that losing early career teachers is an epidemic. And one of the other many goals of the suggestion box is maybe this can provide another resource. Because it's true. I was so supported and surrounded by resources and teachers around me and community members, and my admin was great. I was overflowing with these resources to draw upon at any given time that it was almost like I couldn't fail. Like every time there was an obstacle in my way, I had so many places to look for support. And so that's what I want to create for other educators. And that's what the people who are supporting me want to create for other educators as well. This is something that we need more of as educators. We can always use more help. So one of the things that I tried by starting off with was I tried starting a blog, and I still keep it at themarshbankclassroom.com, but it's been more of a reflective process for me than something that actually helps other teachers. And so I was kind of at a loss. Like I wasn't sure what to do. But then I found the Flint Hills Writing Project. And if you see or if you hear some wistfulness coming through my voice, it's because the Flint Hills Writing Project is magic. I'm not sure why. Wind noises denote magic. But you're with me. Stay with me. I'm not going to go into the full backstory of how the Flint Hills Writing Project came to be. It is something that is local to Kansas, but it's a branch of the National Writing Project. There might be a branch near you. You can look it up. You could not. That's not really the point of this. I just want to tell you where I got my idea. But the Flint Hills Writing Project is besides being magic, it's just the most authentic teacher learning experience I ever had. Picture 10 to 12 teachers who are passionate with the capital P about education, and picture them writing and learning and loving education and teaching together for 3 weeks, and you've got my start to the Flint Hills Writing Project, which was this leadership institute that I went through, and their whole thing was like, we want teachers to help teachers. And during this program that I went through, or like Leadership Institute, it's not actually a program, it's not like a set curriculum, it's an inquiry workshop where we ask questions and answer them, because teachers are experts who can answer questions or help you figure out answers. So during this time, we asked these meaningful questions about our teaching, and we read these phenomenal texts and had this deep discussion about who we are as teachers and what does it mean to be a teacher. It wasn't a paid presenter or someone selling us a textbook or an online education tool. And the world has places for those, but this was not that. This was special. And what I saw in those weeks at this Flint Hills Writing Project, I wanted to attempt to capture in this podcast. a kind of simulated inquiry-based workshop where instead of us asking and answering questions, because it's a podcast and that's a little more difficult to do, it's where we bring up these really cool ideas and I can be the voice of the listener and I can ask questions and provide suggestions or, take to heart the suggestion that the guest is giving me. There's a lot of suggestions. It's suggestionception. Wow, I really like that term. Our classrooms are our sanctum. We spend more time in there than we do our own living rooms. But if you're anything like me, it is also a little bit of a kennel, a dog kennel. You're so close yet so far from other educators around you. So like in my hallway, there's a math teacher and a history teacher and a Spanish teacher, but sometimes I still don't know what's happening in their class, even though they're literally feet away. And of course, we make efforts. We do. We are busy people and we still try. We try to get in their classrooms during plan time, but I want more. And I hope you want more too. I want to know what teachers are doing all around the nation that is working, that is causing students to get out of their seats and be pumped about education, that is getting people in the community of education excited about learning. Let's help each other by sharing the terrific things happening in our classrooms, the small things that we don't even think about that we do so well and that another teacher would just love to hear about so that they could try it too. Let's bring energy and inspiration to each other by welcoming each other, right? It's like we're doing we're peeking through the window. Like, hey, what are you doing? That's amazing. Can you tell me how it works? Can you tell me about the pitfalls, about the challenges, and about the successes, right? Like what was the coolest thing that happened as a result of this lesson? I'm reading a book called Teacherpreneurs, and in it, one of the authors, Ann Bird, has a call to action where she says that we need to listen to, learn from, and share what practicing teachers talk about and do. I think the world needs exactly that. I want more teacher podcasts in the world, right? That's why I made this one. And I want specific teacher podcasts that give me a way to learn something about teaching. At the heart of it all, folks, I love teaching. I do. This is my life's work. This is the field that I will be in for many, many, many years. I do this for other teachers who love teaching, for you. I wanted us all to love teaching together in a community of free love for teaching, but with no nudity because, ew, gross. Okay, last but not least is, where is the suggestion box going? And the quick answer to that is that I don't know. I make this for you. We make this for you, right? Everybody who works on this makes it so that you can feel like there is support so that you can get ideas. So tell me what you want to hear about. Tell me about the great things going on in your classroom or your school. In my years of teaching, the most powerful moments of learning that I've ever had are when I learned from other teachers, and we're mimicking that. We're taking that, we're gonna capture it and make it even better. So I invite you, let us start this adventure of learning together. The Flint Hills Writing Project is at the core of the inspiration for this podcast. My experiences with them have been out of this world, invigorating. All of those $10 words that I usually save for my resume, we're going to actually talk about it next episode. So, stay tuned. Check out episode number 2 to hear more about the Flint Hills Writing Project. And if you are interested in something like that, in something it's literal magic. I don't know who's not interested in magic, but I guess if you're the person who watched Harry Potter and was like, I want to be a muggle, I guess don't listen to the next episode, but see our origin story. And then episode 3 will return with the essence of the podcast that I was talking about, where I'll bring on another teacher and I'll interview them about something really cool going on in their classroom and about how it could be maybe applied to your own classroom. I'm really excited. I hope you are too. Thank you so much today to you who are listening. Special thank you out there to Dr. Heather and Dr. Roger Caswell, who direct the Flint Hills Writing Project, to Kristen McGriff, our saintly graphic designer, and to Sonic Tonic Audio, who helped create some of the tunes that you hear in this podcast. Also, a specific shout out to Kyle, the host of No Wrong Answers, and Jacob, the host of Teach Me Teacher, of the podcast that I mentioned earlier. Early on in this podcasting process, I actually reached out to them for help, and both of them were extremely kind, which is, very, very nice to see in a field that's pretty competitive right now. If you're excited about the suggestion box, please consider subscribing and leave a review. We're on Apple Podcasts, which is formerly iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and we're gonna soon be everywhere that we possibly can. So contribute, interact, check out our social media. If you just search the Suggestion Box Podcast, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our email, if you want to contact us, let us know of your idea that you would like to suggest to our listeners. It's the suggestionboxpodcast@gmail.com, and our website, which is beautiful, you should go check it out, is the suggestionboxpodcast.com. Let's do this, everyone. Let's make something awesome together.